questions because he's seen it all. Not like me, for example, that is just finishing. So, what are the major causes of mental health issues in graduate studies, or in general research? Because when I say graduate studies, I'm saying anything that will involve research. But most of research, we know it's usually towards academics. So we're talking about people going for master's degree and people going for post or PhDs. So these are the main people in research. We know, of course, others are not so much stressed as these two group of people. One of the major, I believe, because I think my audience is mainly international, and most of us have left the comfort of our homes, of our countries, and have moved to certain countries. One of the rude shocks we have is what we call cultural shock. When once you arrive in a new environment, suddenly the weather seems very strange. The people look funny. You know, the food also tastes funny. The water sometimes tastes funny. The driver now is on the right hand side in the cars. So there's that cultural shock. Before you adjust, it takes you some months before you can adjust. Also, some of us, when we came, we had jet lag. So at the time the time for sleeping here is not the time for sleeping in Nigeria. So our circadian rhythm was totally distorted. So this is one of the major challenge for international students. Of course, leaving your family. Some of us are married with kids, and then you leave your kids and wife at home, or the ladies also leaving their husbands and kids at home. Coming and then stay in a strange environment. So that can be a major source of a mental health issue. Next is the imposter syndrome. Once you start the research, it's like a huge mountain, like climbing Mount Everest. So once you start, especially for the masters and the PhD early researchers, it's like you're at the bottom of Mount Everest. So you begin to question your self-esteem is questioned. All what you think because once you finish the bachelor's, you think you are a genius in your field, you know a lot. But once you come to the graduate school, you realize that, well, you have not even started climbing the mountain. So there's that imposter syndrome that comes. Well, I don't know anything, but which affects the students because there's a lot of things to know. In every field you go, there's a ton of materials to read. So it's very hard, for example, to filter the right sources of materials to read and then the ones to discard. Another important, of course, source of mental health issue is the research process itself. Because I liken the research to like a treasure hunt. In a treasure hunt, you go to a jungle and you try to find a treasure. Now, you can be lucky and then you find the treasure easily, but in most cases, you have to dig holes, you have to cut down trees, and then in this jungle also you can be attacked by wild animals. You have lions, you have tigers, you have crocodiles. So I mean, this is the jungle of research. So the research process can be very daunting. The research itself is a source of mental health issue. Another thing which is also a major cause of mental health issues in research, especially for masters and PhD students, is the supervisor issues. And as I said, because most of the audience are international students, we international students are also always eager. Of course, when we leave our homes, we're always eager to have the abroad experience, to travel overseas. Maybe some of us have never even traveled abroad. This is the first time. So you are eager to go out and see the world, that we often fail to do background checks on our supervisors. And then sometimes we can be very lucky. We come and then this supervisor is a very nice person, and then we hit on, and then research goes smoothly. But in some rare cases, there's disconnect between the student and the supervisor. That lack of chemistry can cause a lot of mental health issues on the research. One thing I often see, particularly is that some supervisors are quite very savage, and then I've seen supervisors sometimes even doing things that that they believe is a motivation, but actually I believe maybe because I'm still a student, really, from the side of the student, I believe it's demoralizing because, for example, one of the major issues with supervisor is the funding. Now, some supervisors threaten or even cut the funding of their students. Well, they feel it's a motivation because the student is not performing, we need to cut his funding. But then, I liken it to maybe when you have a sick patient and that patient is on oxygen, and then you say, okay, look, in order to wake this patient from coma or from almost dying, let's take up the oxygen, and then maybe he will start breathing and then become normal. So there's that irony of. But as I said, many are lucky to have good supervisors. So that's also a major issue in graduate studies. Another issue, as I said, quite related, is funding. Uh, Most of the time, we are always funded by some schemes, either by the university or by our countries or by the country of our research, or by even external sources. Sometimes the research covers some time, and then your research is trying to overflow out of the time. And then you're going to spend maybe 1 year without funding. Where to get the funds is a big issue. Or you are doing the research and the funds keep coming, and suddenly the grant has expired, or there's a change in policy. So funding can be a major source of mental health. And because, of course, we know we are in a very materialistic world, you cannot get anything done, or almost anything done, without money. Another source of mental health, and I believe quite often, is rejections, especially for early researchers. It's not easy because, as I said, once you finish the bachelor's, some of us were lucky to finish at the top of our class. We feel we are geniuses, and then we write some research, and we feel that this research is even eligible for a Nobel Prize in Science. And then we send it to a journal, and then it get desk rejected. So it's a very rejections, actually, paper rejections, proposal rejections are a source of major concern to graduate students. Now, another major issue is the bureaucracies. Universities are like governments, mini governments. Sometimes certain things can be involved with a lot of bureaucracy. Sometimes you want to get an equipment, you want to buy a chemical if you are a chemist, or a chemical engineer. You want to buy an equipment if you're a mechanical engineer. You want to get a software if you're an IT or computer science student. Now that bureaucracy could take time. You make a request, it has to go maybe 2 to 4 to 5 offices. This guy has to sign. The other guy that's supposed to sign next is out of office. He's on leave. You know, Something that you feel should take a week is taking months to get approved. So that can also be a great source of mental health issues to researchers. Another one is comparison. We are humans, right? We are just, of course, biologists will tell us that we belong to kingdom animalia, but we are special. We are special. They call us the primates, and that's why perhaps we are the king of in the animal kingdom. We are the kings, right? We can tame even the king of the jungle. We put lions in the zoo to watch them. So while the lion is the king in the jungle, at least in the whole jungle of Earth, I think humans are king. But you see, one thing humans do, we do actually consciously or subconsciously, is that we always compare ourselves with our peers. It's natural. Oh, that guy has a nice car. Okay, I think I should also get a nice car. That guy's wife is prettier than my wife. Her husband prettier than mine is rich. We all compare. So in research, there's that comparison as well. Although in research or graduate studies, there's no really peers, per se, but people you come together. Some people might be very lucky; they get the RPD done in short time, they get the papers and the requirements in short time, they do the RCS in short time. So if one is not careful, if he compares too much, one can start to think of himself as a failure because that other guy has finished on time, or other guy is getting more success than I am. So that also is a quite source of mental health issue to researchers. Another one I termed is bereavement, especially for those of us that are international students. Again, I emphasize on international students because I believe the audience is mostly international. because of course they said death is the characteristic of human being, and we cannot escape it. uh, we all gonna die. So when you're in the graduate studies, sometimes you lose a loved one. Sometimes you not only do you lose a loved one, now you are not around, to commiserate with the family or to stay around and bond. So you're bereaved alone in some international country. That can be a source of major health, mental health. Sometimes you have heartbreaks. Some go through divorce during the research. So all these family issues, if you would like, or personal issues, can also take a toll on the mental health of researchers. So what do I think are some of the solutions? As I said, take what I say with a pinch of salt. I'm not a mental health expert. Rather, and I'm not also a psychiatrist or somebody that has studied anything psychology. But I believe that having the experience also to share, to make a conversation based on what I have known also will help. So, what are the remedies I think can help us to overcome some of these issues? One of them, I think, is to understand that as a researcher, you have to fail. You know, if you're not even failing, you're not doing it well. And I take research like a long jump, if you would like. I don't know what they call it, the jump. It's like when the bar is too low, you easily jump over, right? I mean, it's even a kid can jump over. But when the bar is getting raised higher and higher, then it gets more difficult for you to jump over the bar. And then sometimes, as the bar keeps getting higher and higher, as the bar keeps getting higher and higher, sometimes then you're gonna trip on the bar, and then when you trip on the bar, you're gonna have problems. And another thing that really helps in research, and I believe in to solve this mental health, is to choosing a good supervisor. When you choose a good supervisor, it really helps you to navigate through the research easily. But then when the supervisor is not, and I say here good supervisor, I'm not saying there's anything bad. When I say good supervisors, I'm not saying there's anything bad supervisor. All supervisors are good, most of them, but sometimes you need a one where you have chemistry with. So choosing, and one of the best ways I believe to select a good supervisor is to have a supervisor to ask his previous students how he is. But once you are with a supervisor, and then a supervisor that has two of his students that have quit, or three students that have quit because he's quite very savage, or certain things happening, in the research group, or he's not supportive enough. I think if you are early, it's about time that somebody one consider changing his supervisor. Another thing that really helps, which is quite directly related to mental health, is physical exercise. Research cannot be done, and I believe, with a flappy body. You need to exercise. Take some running, either football, table tennis, and of course, exercise now has been demystified. Now you can install your apps on iOS or Play Store, and in the comfort of your room, you can take a lot of press ups, sit ups, and then you can get physically fit within the comfort of your room. This is very important, related directly, almost directly, to mental health. Another thing that also often affects researchers usually is because we are so busy. Sometimes we even skip meals, we eat junk food, which of course now also directly, because once you're not physically well, your mental health can also go all over the place. So we have to eat good food, take a lot of fruits, take our veggies, check our fiber content, make sure we're healthy enough uh, for the research. Another thing I believe, which of course may be quite controversial, is we need to also sleep well. Doctors are telling us that an adult needs at least 7 to 8 hours of deep sleep every day. So we need to do that. At least have a good sleep routine. They said the room should be dark, temperature around 18 degrees Celsius. Don't take We shouldn't take heavy meals towards bed. avoid coffee or tea towards bedtime. We should have a regular sleeping time. So all these recommendations will help us to have quite a very deep sleep. And when the sleeping doesn't come, when somebody has insomnia, then I believe if it's very extreme, one should seek medical help. Another thing that I believe really helps, it's one should take some breaks, because actually, to be frank, research never finishes. If you say you want to keep working like a machine, before you know it, also collapsing. So one thing that often helps is taking some breaks, especially after certain milestones. You've done your BAPC. Why not take 2 days off? Travel to vacations. You finish your RCS, or anytime you reach a milestone, I think it calls for taking some days off to enjoy life, because life goes on. Another thing that really helps is having good friends in the research, either in the labs or across the country, because we are most of us, and I'm emphasizing on international. It's not easy to make friends, because sometimes you don't look like the people there. So there's that difficulty. But actually, within your own cycle, you can try to make friends, and with friends you can share your difficulties. It's always advantageous when you have a friend where you can open up to, tell him your challenges, and then he can be like a buffer, or she can be a buffer for you during your depressing moments. Another thing I really think helps is we often have our own hobbies before we start research, but most of us try to ignore the hobby and concentrate on research, which doesn't help really, because sometimes you need to do hobbies, to do certain hobbies that are not directly related to research. You need to do some people are hobbies are playing games. Some people hobby is watch movies. You have to try to bring the spice into your life as a researcher. Don't live like a single dimensional life where the only thing you do is research and research and research. That can lead to a burnout, as they say, or even in extreme cases affect your mental health. And also, one thing we often do, of course, as I said, we are humans, certain things you cannot avoid. We try to attach research to our life goals. For example, someone will say, I want to get engaged after my PhD. Now, the problem with that is that then the PhD or the master's become like a stumbling block in your life. It means like it's an obstacle. So one thing that really helps is, as much as possible, I think, to let life go in parallel. There's nothing wrong in being engaged while you are doing the research, or while you are doing PhD or masters. There's nothing wrong in getting a baby. Many women are getting babies during their research process. Many men are becoming fathers during the. So I mean, as much as possible, if one try to parallelize his research with his life, then it's easier, rather than saying, okay, I will finish first before I do this. Then the PhD or the master's, as I said, become like a stumbling block. So anytime you get stuck in the research, you get more frustrated, because look, this research is preventing you from maybe getting married or getting a child, or seeing your family, or something actually important life goals you have set out to achieve. Another thing, quite also affects researchers is, okay, what happens after the process? As I said, mostly the funding will expire towards the end of your research. Now, what happens after I finish my PhD? Am I going to be a postdoc? Where do I go for postdoc? Where do I start searching for jobs? That can so now, but as a remedy is, okay, let's try to plan our life. Now, what we try to do is, like 6 months towards the end of your PhD, or 6 months towards, or 5 months towards the end of your master, depending on how lengthy the program is. At that moment, you should start applying places. Don't wait till after Viva, or after Viva before you start applying. From PhD, for example, immediately after your RCS, I think it's time to start sending emails to professors you want to do postdoctoral research with, and then you can be lucky. Immediately after your Viva, or even before your Viva, you already have gotten a postdoctoral position, or you have already found a job. So we should try to plan life after research quite early, not at the end of the research. And as I said, sometimes mental health can go extreme. Once somebody sees that his own mental health has gone so bad that he's thinking or having suicidal thoughts or trying to self harm himself or herself, then it's about time to seek professional help, to go to the medical doctors. And some countries have a special helpline where if somebody has any suicidal thoughts, he can call the police, and then they will come and assist. You know, once it gets extreme, the only solution is trying to to seek for professional help. And another thing, of course, is the bedrock. We're all people of religion. What really helps in research or in life in general, and I might not be extremely religious, but I believe that prayer really helps, because some of these difficulties, perhaps as our people will say, your village people chasing you. So I think you should pray very hard. And also, if you have offended people in the past, it's about time, when things don't work, to seek their forgiveness. Maybe they are it's karma trying to catch up with someone. So this is just, I believe prayer should be at the top, but at least it's at least as the bottom. I put it also as is the bedrock of everything in life. So these are the things, as I said, some of the remedies. And in summary, as I said, I made it a very short presentation so that I know the NIS has other activities. I don't want to bore us down with a very lengthy presentation. In summary, I have discussed some of the things I believe are the major causes of mental health issues in research community. And as I said, the talk, of course, was tilted towards graduate studies, and even in graduate studies, mostly masters and PhD. And even in that, I concentrated more on international students because I believe the audience are mostly international masters and PhD students. I've discussed of some of the remedies that I believe will really at least ameliorate the problems. And there's a quote I found which is quite very interesting, and I believe I will read it quite slowly. Uh, it says, "Some of the most comforting words in the universe are me too." And I will repeat again. Some of the most comforting words in the universe are me too. That moment when you find out that your struggle is also someone else's struggle, that you are not alone, that others have been down the same road, and the quotation is by an unknown person. So what it's trying to say, as of course we don't explain quotation, is that once you're having difficulties in your research, we should know that some people have passed through that road. We are not alone. It's a pandemic, if you would like. So thank you very much for listening to me. And as I said, if you have one or two questions that are not so difficult, I may answer them. If they are so difficult, then our patron, our father here, can answer them. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ubaka. He has actually done an art that is very good at communicating what he knows to people. That's why I call him the storyteller. So if you have a question, for able doctor, you can drop it on the comment section or just indicate by raising up your hand so we'll allow you to talk. Okay, while we wait for your questions, I actually have a question for you, doctor. Yeah, this issue of like when you discussed about causes of mental health issues, you talked about questioning your self-esteem. Questioning your self-esteem. So with most of the new students that just arrived UTP, I'm actually one of them too. We are actually having this challenge of questioning our self-esteem. Like you say, you came from a place where you are, let me say, at the top of the class, and you are here. You are seeing a new scenario, a new challenge. Like there was someone I was discussing with. We're telling him that he's going to make use of ANSYS for his project. He shouted that he doesn't even know what his ANSYS. We're telling him that at a point he might even end up programming. He started getting scared. So he was like, so I really need all these things and I don't even have an idea about it. So how do we solve this challenge of questioning our self-esteem, especially for those that are just coming? So we'll have a better confidence pulling through.
Okay, I have noted your question. I don't know as the host, do you want me to answer the question as they come, or I take note of them?
Okay, you could actually take note of them. I can see some hands up. Okay, Ahmed, Husani, and Jagaba. You can speak.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Good evening, our able doctor. Thank you for the wonderful lectures. Really appreciate your contributions, and I believe it will be helpful to all of us. And my straight question is, as a research student, how can someone identify that he or she is mentally stressed? That's one. And secondly, how should peers treat those kind of people when they identify them? Thank you, doctor.
Okay. Abdurrashid Haruna, you can ask your question.
All right, Mr. Azubike, thank you very much for the opportunity. Our able doctor, thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. You have done justice to the topic, and I'm happy in particular because you have touched the most important thing that is affecting the graduate student. However, my question will be that, sir, should in case you identify somebody from afar with this issue, suffering the mental health, is it possible to approach this person directly and tell him, see, brother, this is what I found in you, if this is possible, please kindly educate me. Otherwise, if there will be a tactical approach to inform a person about his situation, what do we do in particular? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last question will be from Balogun Abdulatif.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to appreciate the speaker. That is, let's say the lecturer is. Nice to hear from you. It's been a very long time. So to the main discourse, mine is just to contribute to what Dr. Abubakar said. I listened, let's say, from the beginning to the very end, so I can pitch into some of the things that he said. I can affirm to some, because research is not a one-way street, just like you have pointed out. Basically, you need to believe in yourself, because that is the main thing. If you don't believe in yourself, then you start doubting everything that comes to your mind. Even simple addition, you will doubt it. When you get to that particular point, then that means there's fire on the mountain. You need to believe in yourself no matter what. There will be pressure. PhD is no joke. MSc is no joke. No degree is a joke. There will be pressure. It's not meant to be easy. That's how the process is. But you are tougher than that. Once you have that belief in your mind, then you can go places, you can solve any problem. Sometimes it's not only about brilliancy, or let's say brilliance in this case. Maybe the smartest, maybe the, how will I say, the egghead. And at the end of the day, you may be having a problem with research. It can turn out to be like that. But once you believe in yourself and you're able to seek help whenever you have a problem, you know yourself better than any other person. When you need help, please don't bottle it up. It kills faster than death. Just for example, during my own period, and Dr. Abubakar Bala is here, I usually go to his workstation. We discuss on my own research. I'm in IT, he's in electrical, just to get second opinion, third opinion. If that will help you, take that approach. Don't bottle it up. Once you bottle it up, that's the beginning of failure. There's nothing anybody can do to you at that point again. So I'll just advise, as I have said, please take all the things that he has noted. You know yourself better. Try to work out a particular part. There's no really like a master plan, but once you are up and doing, like I said, it's not only about brilliance. Once you're up and doing, ability to seek help as at when due, people are always there to help. If you can reach out enough, people will always help you. You're not the first person going through that kind of phase. But if you bottle everything to yourself, keep everything to yourself, then internal implosion, and that will be the end of it all. To the new students, I wish you all like a successful journey. I wouldn't mind what I'm going to tell you straight as it is. Some of you may have it easy, some of you may have it otherwise, but for you to be here, we are going to get it done. So just like buckle up and everything's going to work out fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Balogun, I will really appreciate. There's something you said that was very key. You said reach out to people when you seek for help, when you have an issue. Yeah, so thank you very much. So our doctor, I think, is open to you now to trash out the questions.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Azubike, and also the people that asked the question, and especially Dr. Latif for the excellent contribution. I hope I'm doing. Can you hear me, Mr. Azubike?
Yes, I can.
Okay, excellent. And I'm happy that also Dr. Latif has answered some of the questions, especially your own question, right? so I will skip your question since he has answered it. I mean, he has said it all. Unless I want to rehash, you have to reach out, as I said. Pardon? So as I said, he has answered it all. One thing is that this feeling you have is good. That imposter syndrome at the beginning is good, because that means you're going to learn something new. You get it? So if there's a software that you don't even know an idea of how it is run, there's always a lot of tutorials on YouTube. There's a lot of people you can reach out to on emails, and you can sometimes you can go on Udemy. There's Coursera. There's always a course for those softwares on either free on YouTube or sometimes you can find them on Udemy. Sometimes for $10, $15, you can become an expert in a tool within a short time. So as you said, always speak up. If you ask people, they will help you. And also, I said, I think there's nothing to admit. There's nothing wrong with admitting ignorance. If your supervisor asks you, do you know ANSYS or do you know this? Tell him, I don't know. Okay, how can you help? How can you help me? If he has some funds, he can send you for training. So don't do like you know. Here it's because you are here to learn. If you don't know anything, tell your supervisor, frankly, sir, I don't know this. I've never heard of this software. Okay, how do we learn the software? And then he can even give you some funds. You can go to another university if there is no resource person here, and you can be trained in the software. And I can assure you, most of these softwares are very easy. Of course, at the beginning, they can sound very intimidating, but after some few months, before you know it, you are playing around, clicking around with the softwares, and then you are an expert in the software. And I think the second question about how you can, I think from Dr. Jagaba, how you can identify whether you have a mental health issue. I think that is a heavy question because, as I said, I'm not a psychiatrist or a mental health expert. Maybe I will let our patron, Father, maybe when he comes later to give us something on that, how somebody can identify whether he is mentally unhealthy. But the second question you asked, I think, related also to Dr. Abdurrashid's question, in how can peers help someone having a mental collapse? Now, if you are in a lab, I think I would just relate a story. I think while we were in the master's program, in the rooms, in one of the rooms, because there we were sharing rooms, we realized that one Nigerian brother was having a mental collapse. What happened is that he stopped attending classes, he stopped going to labs, he stopped doing anything. The only thing he was doing was sitting in the hostel, watching movies, doing Facebook. And then we saw the danger. Then we asked him, okay, are you not going to the class? Are you not going to lab? He said no. So in that situation, what we did, I don't know whether it will apply here. What we did at that point is that we knew that it's not easy for us to talk to him because he's a peer. So we reported him to we had a community leader then, who was a lecturer at that time. We reported the case to him, and the community leader called him, and he talked to him, what is the problem? He told him he has some girlfriend issues, he has some issues, this. And before you know, within 1 week, that guy is up and running, and he has even gotten his PhD. So I think it depends on the approach. If you are so close to the person, you can talk to him, I think, directly. But what really helps is to talk to somebody as somebody above you, if there's a community leader, like for example, here we have community leaders, we have this president, we have our patron. If you feel a colleague, a brother is so much stressed, you can talk to somebody that will give him a fatherly advice. I think I have answered the question. I think these are the questions. And as I said, thank you for the questions and also especially the contribution by Dr. Latif.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I've not seen any hands up, so I will assume there are no more questions. Yes. So because of time, we are going to just move over to agenda number 5, which is the keynote by Dr. A.A. Sulaiman, AIS NC Patron. So welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And so I would like to, please permit me to start by welcoming everybody, and also let me just commend the ESCOs for coming up with this well thought out topic, which is very, very important, very, very important. In fact, when I first saw the letter and I read the topic, I was very, very impressed. Very, very impressed, because actually I've been a member of the committee on student disciplinary committee, and I know the kind of issues or matters that we actually deliberate upon. So in most cases, most students who have these mental issues, they really talk to anyone until something happens. And what is usually happen is that so you will notice in their performance, the academic performance. So it is only when they are asked to they are put on probation, or they are given dismissal letter, then that's when they will now start writing letter of appeal. Then when we now ask the HOD to talk to them, they will discover that in most cases, they don't disclose whatever they are going through, either with their friends or with their lecturers or anybody. So they just keep it to themselves. And that's why the point raised by Dr. Balogun is actually very, very germane one, very, very important. So but I think that's just by the way. Let me just try to say one or two things about what Dr. Bala has already presented. In fact, nobody can present it better. You have done justice to the topic. In fact, there is nothing left. There is nothing left. So I will appeal to Dr. Bala to please maybe share the slide with everybody, so that at least let everybody have a copy of that presentation. It was a very, very nice presentation. Nothing left. So, and I'm also very, very impressed with the way you have responded to some questions. Actually, I don't like answering difficult questions, because as you said, that maybe the difficult questions will be left to me. So I don't like answering difficult questions myself. So, but I will also respond to some of the questions that have been asked. And actually, Dr. Bala has, just like I said, done justice to the topic. And I think he has actually said it all concerning the individual involved. Now, what I just want to add, I think, is one of the questions asked by, I think, maybe Dr. Hamad, about so if you identify a person that is that probably has a mental issue and so on. So, just like Dr. Bala said, how do you identify? So, actually, it can be very difficult to identify, because we are not trained. We don't have the expertise. So I think maybe the question would have been, if you suspect, I think that should be the right word. If you suspect that somebody is actually having a kind of mental issue, so what do you do? And from what from my little experience, I think there are two ways by which you can deal with it. And let me just cite a note of caution. We need to be very, very careful, even if we suspect that somebody may be probably having some mental issues, or some is undergoing some depression. We need to be very, very careful, because any action that we take, if it's not appropriate, in fact, we can trigger something suicidal in the person. So we need to be very, very careful. That's number one. But before I give the second one, I think it is better for us to know certain things. Now, Dr. Bala has already given us almost everything about the individual, and to us, actually, he was actually talking to all of us. Because there is nobody, as long as you are a researcher, you will definitely have to undergo one kind of psychological or, a mental trauma sometimes. So the presentation is not only targeted at students. So as long as you are a researcher, that presentation fits very well with everybody. Now, what I just want to add is that, okay, let's say we are not undergoing any psychological trauma. We are fine. But we should be our brothers' keepers. We should be our sisters' keepers. How do I mean? Even if we don't have any problem with our research, we don't have any problem with our own postgraduate program. We don't have any, so everything is almost, it's almost perfect. But we need to look out for one another. Once you have a friend or you have a very close associate and you notice certain things, certain changes in the person, then that might indicate some red flags. And that's why once we suspect, then we need to be very careful. Now, what are the things we need to look out for? Number one, somebody who is frequently exhibiting negative emotions. So there's a sign of depression, sadness, hopelessness, and so on. And this person is not, has never been like this. Just a sudden change in the way he or she reacts. Then you start suspecting that maybe something is happening. If you notice a change or changes in his eating habit or changes in his sleeping habit, it may be a red flag. If you notice that someone is withdrawing from social interactions, is keeping too much to himself or herself, that might be a red flag. If somebody is no longer participating in a favorite hobbies or activities that he or she is well known for. You have a friend or you have a colleague who you know, at least 3 times in a week, he or she must go to the gym. He or she must go for swimming. And for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there is, he or she is not, is not even keen on, going to the gym or doing some of those hobbies. That might be a red flag. Again, if somebody is neglecting personal appearance or hygiene, somebody who has always been a very nice looking person, now looking haggard, and he doesn't give a damn, that might be a red flag. Then if you notice a general change in the personality or the behavior in a certain individual, that might be a red flag. or somebody talking about death or dying, or just saying, in fact, life means nothing anymore, then you know that where is this coming? I mean, where is this coming from? That might be a red flag. That's when you start suspecting. But please, when you are suspecting, you need to be very, very careful so that you don't do anything or say anything that can trigger something negative that may lead to, bad consequences. So what you need to do as a friend, if he is your friend, you try as much as possible to get closer to him. Don't ask him unnecessary questions. Don't ask him too much. Just get closer to him. By getting close to him, by being nice to him, so you can buy little gifts. So that, you are just trying to let him open up. But please don't force him to open up. You need to first of all move closer to him. Try to do so many things in common. Take him out, ask him out. Discuss about entertainment, discuss about sports, discuss about politics and so on. Just try to let him speak, because communication is very, very important, very, very important. So by so doing, by moving close to him, by getting closer to him, you might probably get some information. And if you know a little about psychology, then you can know how you can play around to be able to see how you can make him have a rethink, or how you can motivate him, or how you can now invite somebody else to probably contribute in motivating him, so that at least he will know that, just like Dr. Bala has already said, failure is part of success. Failure is part of success. So he has to know that, falling down once doesn't mean the end of life. And there are so many, examples abound about those who have fallen down and they have risen up, and in fact, to the top echelons. But if this is not successful, that is, even as you are trying to get closer, he is still withdrawing and so on, and then that will definitely now mean probably confirmation that he is going through something. Then that is where you now need to involve the specialist, the counselor, the psychologist, and we have them in UTP. I've already pasted something in the chat box. That is the link to the UTP psychological and counseling services. You can approach them. In fact, I had course to deal with some of those psychologists. Very, very good, very, very professional. Just go to them and explain things to them. They will know how to take it up. But please, once you notice that it is something you cannot handle, don't push further. But make sure you take action. And that is the responsibility of all of us. So once we notice that there is somebody who is having frequent negative emotions, sadness, hopelessness, or changes in the way, in his eating or sleeping habits, somebody who is now showing some conservative attitude. Somebody who has always been an easygoing type, now suddenly withdrawing from social interactions. Somebody who no longer participates in favorite hobbies. Somebody who is now neglecting his personal appearance. He doesn't care anymore. He or she doesn't care anymore. So he's now putting on bathroom slippers to go to Tesco or to go. Then you know that something is wrong. Or somebody saying something about death about dying. Dying means nothing. I mean, then those are red flags, which we need to, and it is our own responsibility. If we are his friend, then we move closer. If we are not his friend and we suspect this, immediately, probably we may alert one of his closest friends. But sometimes some of the closest friends, they may not even know how to even approach the issue again. So I think the best advice is for us to approach the specialist, talk to the psychological and counseling service, and give them what you have discovered. Then they should be able to take it up. So I think rather than, so I wouldn't want to, I mean, I'm not a psychologist myself. Dr. Bala is just saying that I should ask that should answer the difficult question, but I hope I've been able to answer, to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let me just once again commend the ESCO. Thank you very much for it. This is a very, very important topic. In fact, we need to have a regular discussion about this particular topic, because it's an ongoing thing. So I mean, everybody is going through one kind of trauma, one way or the other. So first of all, we need to be our borders keepers. And I will still go back to what Dr. Balogun has already said. Please don't let us keep too much to ourselves. Once we notice, now every individual should be able to identify when you are going through stress. For me, once I start having headache towards one part of my head, once I start noticing a partial headache, I know that something is getting wrong. Even without measuring my BP, I know that I need to take a rest. And once I start having that kind of headache, there is nobody who can ask me to do anything. I will shut down the system and I will go to sleep. And it has always been working for me. It may be different for another individual. It could be maybe some stomach ache, or maybe some general feeling of apathy. Everybody should be able to understand his or her system. But if you just notice that something is wrong somewhere and you cannot decode it, you cannot identify where it's coming from, please seek medical attention. You need to first of all run the first basic medical test. The very first one is to test your BP. Go to the GP clinic and measure your BP. In fact, I have my own BP measuring instrument at home, and I take it 3 times every day. I record, because that's what my specialist told me, that you need to constantly monitor it. Because there was a time when I was in UI in Nigeria, we just had a new VC then. Our new VC then was the former Minister of Health. Then he made it compulsory for every staff to go to the university clinic for tests. Everybody went to the clinic. I also went. So I did all the basic tests. So, but I was told that my cholesterol level was beginning to increase. So the doctor advised me to cut down on oily foods and so on. Then we had this technologist, chief technologist, who was in mechanical engineering department. He did not go the first week. Do you know the second week? The second week, the man died in the office. The man died inside the lab. And when postmortem was carried out, actually he was actually under he was under pressure, under stress. The BP was so high that, and he felt it was okay. So please, we shouldn't take our health, with levity. We need to constantly make sure that we are perfectly okay. And I would also like to reiterate what Dr. Bala said. Going for workout session, we must keep fit all the time, and we must watch our diet. Very, very important. Very, very important. But the most important part of it is we shouldn't keep too much to ourselves. We should make friends. We should let people know whatever challenges we are. In fact, solutions are bound everywhere. Solutions are bound everywhere. So it is, but if you keep to yourself, there won't be any solution. But if you inform others what you are going through, you have suggestions coming from here and there. And out of all those suggestions, definitely the solution will come. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say this little thing I know. And so once again, I would like to appreciate the ESCOs. Thank you very much for this topic. And thank you very much, Dr. Bala, for doing justice to this topic. Thank you very much. So I think that's about all. Let me pass the floor back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor. We really appreciate. Dr. Suleiman is our patron, and he has actually done justice to some of the questions that were raised. He spotted out. I was able to spot out 5 points from what he said. He said, first of all, we need to be careful with the actions we take, especially when we identify that there's a particular person undergoing a mental health issue. So we should be careful with the action we take, with the kind of words we say to them, with the way we behave towards them, because it can actually trigger something suicidal. Okay. The second one is we should look out for one another. That's the essence of having an association like this. Once in a while, you ask about your friend, you check up on them, ask them how their research is going on, and if there's a change in their normal activity, you communicate with someone that is even closer to them, or you report to the school authority. He also said we should be able to contact the school psychologist if we notice that there's something going wrong. And there was a link that was dropped on the chat box. You can follow the link to get to the school psychological and counseling team. Also, he said we should take our personal health serious. If you notice a slight issue, the clinics are not very far from here. You can go there, go for a checkup. As something as minor as a blood pressure increase can lead to death. You heard the example he gave. Then, according to him, the most important is that we should not keep to ourselves. We should not keep to ourselves. Always discuss with someone. Always talk to someone about your research, about personal challenges, probably people you trust, people you're very close to. Always discuss with someone. So once again, I thank you, our doctor, for our patron, for being able to discuss and give a very enlightening keynote speech to us. Thank you very much, sir. So we'll be going over to the next thing on our agenda, which is adoption of the action plan for the year 2022. I'll be sharing my screen.
Sorry, can we have a photo session before the
Okay, so thank you for reminding me. It just skipped my mind. So please, everyone should turn on their camera. Turn on your camera, please. So we just take quick shots. Yeah.
Please, Mr. President, may I just ask you to please allow me? I'll be leaving very soon because I have another meeting with my FYP students. So maybe after this photo session, so just allow me to take my leave. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Please turn on your camera. Turn on your camera. Okay. Also take quick screenshots from your end. Okay. Okay, just smile for the camera. We're about taking the shots. Okay, one.